Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Michael Smith, the National Consumer Education Manager of Janome, Canada. And again, I'm back at the Janome Sewing and Learning Center in Oakville, Ontario to do another A to Z with Janome. I can't believe we're really in the home stretch. Next week will be it, but we've still got Y and Z or Z next week, and then next Friday, July 10th, I'm going to do a recap and show you my sample that I've been making so far. So I hope to have that finished or near to finished to show you. So today's Janome HQ Instagram Live is brought to you by the letter V for our gathering foot. And I say it all the time, oh, that's one of my favorite feet. It's so true. I've got so many favorite Janome presser feet, but this is one reason why I personally love Janome as a brand. They always have such amazing, useful presser feet, and anything that makes, and attachments and accessories, anything that makes the job quicker and easier, I'm all for. So V is our gathering foot. Now here is my little sample with my beautiful Tamaracate fabric and all these beautiful even gathers that you can make yards and yards and yards. So simple, so easy with the correct presser foot. It's really amazing. The correct tools for the job certainly make life much easier for everything else, including sewing. And again, depending on the weight of your fabric, certainly some fabrics will gather a little easier than others. Some will make gathers more easily. So here I just have two samples of the same fabric here, this orange fabric, and my top sample is gathered more, that I can adjust some settings in my machine, which I'll show you, to alter how much gathering I have in my strip. And then this white fabric down here, it's also cotton, but it's got that sort of plasticky, rubbery print on top of it. So I found that really didn't gather as readily as this orange fabric, which is just plain cotton. This one, again, it's got that sort of rubbery print stamped on it, so then it didn't gather as well. But again, you can adjust the gathers with some machine settings, which I will show you. Now, remember the days, I've been sewing for about 30 years, and I swear ever since they started commercial patterns, 200 years ago, remember the days of the commercial pattern said, and it still says to these days, do 2 parallel rows of long basting stitches within your seam allowance, and then you draw up your threads. And you've got to do ever so slightly gently so you don't break that thread. It was always, whenever I had to do this to gather fabric, I always had like fear, a knot in my stomach going, please don't let that thread break. So that's how we would have to gather our fabric and then adjust it to make sure they're all uniform. Now, after I stopped doing that, because inevitably I'd get almost to the end and the thread would break, of course, but then, other instructions say, well, zigzag over a cord of some kind, some string, or even dental floss I would do. And I would zigzag over that, hoping I don't catch the cord, and then I would pull that cord. So that makes gathers a little easier, but that's still too much trouble. And then what if you sew through that cord? And so forget all that. Instead, we have the beautiful V foot, the gathering foot. It's a very cute little foot, and again comes in a blister pack. Now the wonderful thing about this V gathering foot, it is available for 9mm machines, 7mm machines, and 5mm machines. So pretty much most regular sewing machines, you'll be able to get a gathering foot for your machine. So that's fabulous. As always, instructions on the back of the blister pack, so that's great. So the secret behind this V foot is it's extra thick. Perhaps you could see at the side there. It is extra thick up at the front, but at the back it's very thin. It kind of drops off. So it by having it extra thick at the front, it kind of slows down your fabric from feeding over the feed dogs. And by having this grooved at the back, then it allows that gathered fabric to form and come off the foot. So it's very cool in its construction. Now you'll see by my 9mm foot here, it snaps on in two places, much like our T, the button foot, will snap on in that same way in our a lot of our free motion quilting feet for the 9mm with auto presser foot lift. Again, they snap in two places here. So I want to make sure when I put this foot in, and here's my foot holder, then I snap it into the back bar first, and then I can snap it up at the front. And again, to remove the foot, like most of our clip-on feet, I just hit that black little button and that releases the foot. So make sure that you clip it on at the back and then up at the front. So that works very well. So now if it's easier for you as well that you take your foot holder off the machine and snap your foot on first, I have it, and then attach your foot holder. I have it attached here at the back, and then what I will do sometimes is take my screwdriver or my stiletto, and I'll just kind of bring up the toe of that foot and snap it on to that front bar there. So that makes it very easy. Since I'm going to be doing gathering just with a straight stitch, and again, this is the wonderful thing, pretty much any machine will do this. If your machine can do a straight stitch, and if you can adjust the length to a very long stitch, you can do this gathering with this gathering foot. So since I'm just going to go in a straight line, this is a good time to use our straight stitch needle plate, which again has a center hole, and then there's a hole off to the left and a hole off to the right there. So check to see if your machine has a straight stitch needle plate. You don't have to use it, but I find it just makes it go a little easier, that I don't have to worry about, you know, the fabric being pushed down into the universal zigzag needle plate, then just has that one big opening at the front. On my 15,000 quilt maker here, I have the one-touch needle plate removal, so it makes it very easy. I just snap that off. I don't need my screwdriver, so that's definitely a wonderful feature. And then I just snap that into place, and then I love a machine that talks to me and says, "You have the straight stitch needle plate. Are you sure that?" Yes, that's fine. Now, by having that snapped in place, you can see all my other zigzag stitches and such have been grayed out. It's not going to let me select those by mistake. So I love, again, the machine that thinks for me. So I'm just going to bring my thread under my foot here. And, whoops. So gathering. Now, how much your fabric is going to gather, again, like everything else, do cut some strips and do some testing. So this strip, for example, started out being approximately about 21 inches, about half the width of a standard, 42-inch wide bolt of quilting cotton. So I just cut a strip and then cut it in half. So again, it started out about 21 inches. So when I adjusted my tension, my needle tension, all the way up to number 10, and when I adjusted my length all the way to number 5 is the longest stitch, that I found this strip condensed to about half. This is, if I put it down to my table to measure it, it's just over 10 inches. So that 21-inch strip went all the way down to 10. So again, that's about half. So how much it's going to condense, again, you'll have to experiment based on your fabric and based on the settings of your machine. I did this big long sample, for example, and again, you just write it on, make yourself a little note. So here is my standard 2.4 stitch length and my standard 3.8 tension for my needle, just for my regular straight stitch of my 15,000 quilt maker here. And again, nothing happened. So when I went a little further along and I tightened up my needle tension up to a 5, and I lengthened my stitch to a 3, then I did get a little bit of gathering here. So if you're trying to ease in, let's say up and around your sleeve cap, if you're making a garment, and again, how you have that set-in sleeve, and you're trying to ease in a little bit of that fabric, maybe this is all you need to do. Lengthen your stitch a little bit to 3, tighten your needle tension a little bit to 5, and it will ease in just a little bit there. As I go further along, though, and I'm still at a stitch length of 3, but I've tightened up my needle tension to a 6, and I definitely have more gathering there. And then as I go on here, I've now increased my stitch length to 3.5, so a little bit longer, and again, I've tightened up my needle tension to an 8. So I definitely have way more gathering here. And this is just regular quilting cotton that I'm demoing today. So again, experiment some fabrics. Obviously, the thinner the fabric, the more it will gather. Denim, for example, wouldn't really gather so well with this foot. I might use the ruffler attachment or something to gather that fabric. So here I've adjusted my stitch length to a 4, so that's definitely got more gathered. And again, I've increased the needle tension to a 9. So that's definitely more gathered. And then here at the end, I've gone all the way up. My stitch length is at 5, the maximum it will go, and my needle tension is at 10, the maximum it will go, and that is produced very nice tight gathers, which is again what I did in that sample there. So again, how beautiful that looks, how uniform that looks. So it's fun just to experiment. Cut yourself a bunch of strips and experiment. Now, if you want to follow me over to the machine settings, again, any machine that can do a straight stitch can do this, or again, almost every. I don't believe there is a gathering foot for the HD9 or the 1600p. So those machines would not use this foot, but pretty much every other machine would. So with your regular straight stitch, for my 15,000 quilt maker here, I can touch that little arrow. And then here is my stitch length. Generally, at least up to about a 3 for gathers to start showing. But again, the higher that number, the longer the stitch, the more gathers you will have. And again, it'll go up to a 5. This is my needle tension here. So for my regular straight stitch, it's automatically set at 3.8, but I can adjust that. And again, the tighter the needle tension, the more gathers that you will get. So depending on your machine, if it's computerized, then you have it by a touchscreen here, or maybe if your machine isn't so sophisticated, you'll have like the little dial up at maybe on the top of your machine, or if you've got like the 6700, for example, it's got the beehive tension that you would then crank up that needle tension, or depending again if you're what your other machine is, it might be up here at the top, and then you would tighten that needle tension. The tighter it is, again, the more gathering it is. So I will just take this strip, and away I go. Now it's telling me, I don't even have my bobbin in there. That's why the bobbin thread is not sufficient. See, this is why I love a machine that thinks for me, because I'm always in such a hurry. So yes, once I get some bobbin thread in there, I'll be able to sew this. So, okay, so here I go. So perhaps you can see that already I can see at the side of my foot, again, the gathers are being formed as I go along. So by having that extra thick foot, that extra metal in the front, it's putting a little bit more pressure on the feed dogs, and it's slowing down the fabric from feeding as quickly. But by lengthening my stitch, it is that's what's producing that the gathering. and by tightening my needle. Then that's a perfect recipe for these gathers to form. So very quickly and easily with a single layer of fabric, or if this was like folded in half, that would be fine to do as well. But I'm going to make my ruffle first, and then I'm going to attach this to a piece of fabric. So there is my ruffle, and then I would attach this to my piece of fabric as I have done here. Look at that, how gorgeous and dramatic that is. So again, where would you use this? Oh, think of, again, ruffles at the end of a sleeve, or if this were a waistband, and this could be a ruffled skirt, or for an apron, or this could be the shoulder seam. So this is your shoulder seam. This is the arm's eye. So if you wanted some gathered sleeves. And on Wednesday for W, oh, how perfect is that? I'm going to talk about the W binding foot. So that's what I put on this little skinny strip of blue. So what a great designer touch that is. Again, simple and easy just by using the presser feet that are available for the machines, and how easy that is. Now, I wanted to show you this other trick. So again, that gathered up beautifully, but let's say, oh, I wanted that a little bit more, and I've already adjusted my length as long as I can go. I've already adjusted my needle tension as high as I can go, but I still want more gathers.
That's what Sandra just asked.
Oh, perfect.
Tighten up the gathering at all after you've sewn.
Well, I could, if I wanted to go back in and pull these threads, I could, but I'm going to do, again, these are little tips I learned when I studied fashion design, again, years ago. So as I'm starting to sew my gathers, and again, certain fabrics, the lighter the fabric, generally the more gathers, but I'm going to put my finger here behind the foot. So I'm going to force, you can see right off the side of my foot there, or hopefully you can see that, I'm going to force, by not allowing the fabric to escape, I'm going to force more gathers. And depending on the length of my strip, if it gets really, really full here, then great. I let the rest of that strip go, and then I put my finger back here and gather up some more. And then again, if that gets too bulky, then fine, I just release the rest and put my finger back there. So that will allow even tighter, more full gathers. So how perfect is that? So let's compare. So this was just the foot and the machine on their own, and then this one was me holding it. So even there, look how much more than that condensed this top strip by me holding with my finger behind the foot. So it's much more full, much more condensed. So again, it's really fun, cut up, but this is the perfect experiment with, that fabric we all seem to have. You look in your stash and go, what was I thinking? Why do I have this? Then great, cut up that ugly fabric and then do your little samples with that. So it's really cute. These, I'm thinking, have to turn into Barbie clothes or something like that. I got to do something cute with them. So again, super simple foot, but again, lots of fun to do. So any other questions? Oh, I thank you. Yes, it's very fun. Or around a pillow. Yes, absolutely. If you're doing a pillow, and totally any of these gathers, yes, around your pillow. So simple, so easy to do. So yes, have fun experimenting. So yes, if there is no further questions, another great resource though, you can certainly, as always, check out our Janome Life blog. Type in janomelife.wordpress.com in your browser. And we've written other posts in the past about this V gathering foot. And also our friends at Sew for Home. If you type in your browser sew, S-E-W, the number 4, home.com. Sew for Home is a great resource on all things Janome. They use a lot of our products, a lot of our feet, a lot of our machines. They do reviews and everything, a lot of tutorials on how to. So yeah, definitely check out So for Home as a resource for all things, but specifically about this gathering foot. I know that they've written some blogs about that, some articles about that. So another good resource. Now, if you happen to tune into this Instagram live late, you can check it out on the IGTV icon that's on the main Janome HQ Instagram page, and they're stored there. But also in a day or two, I will post them as YouTube videos on the Janome HQ YouTube channel. I'm about to post Friday's YouTube video today, and then this one again I'll probably make like today, and I'll post it tomorrow, for example. So check out the Janome HQ YouTube channel for past A to Z with Janome episodes.
There's a question.
Oh, yes.
Barbara says, will it fit the 11,000?
Yes, that is a 7mm machine, I believe. So yes, double check with your Janome dealer. But yes, this V gathering foot is available for 9mm, 7mm, and 5mm machines. So it's wonderful that pretty much, again, all machines can use it. So it's great. So yes, I will see you all on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern for another Janome HQ. I'm doing W, the binder foot. And then coming up tomorrow, Tuesday, at Janome Canada Instagram, Melissa Marginette is doing, I believe it's walking foot quilting with your feed dogs up, or something, or quilting with your feed dogs up. I think that's what it is. So check out at Janome Canada Instagram at 1 p.m. Tomorrow, Tuesday, and then I will see you here, Janome HQ, Wednesday at 1 p.m. So have a fabulous day. Thank you all for joining me. Enjoy your afternoon. Bye.